And
you're in like some Chinese store, like from Gremlins, like in the basement of some
so I'm going to feed
brownstone.
everything after midnight. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
I want you to find me a red-headed Gila monster.
Right. Which brings us into a new year that hopefully your gremlins didn't reach out and mutate and kill you and your family, because 'tis the season. 'Tis a new year. Welcome back to Rabbit Troop Sucks. We are a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films that continues into this year. Looking into those films that, are all those things that I just noted. As always, I'm your host, Paul. Next to me is your co-host, Michael.
Yep.
That didn't seem natural, Mike.
That was my Dredd.
You're trying a new thing. Next to Mike is Lamar.
Hello.
Jeremy is summoned in the room like a demon.
Giddy up.
and Colin is here as well.
Hey.
And we're going to be looking at 2012 Dredd. This movie is, let me just start off with a little bit of a summary. In a violent, futuristic city where the police have the authority to act as judge, jury, and executioner, a cop teams with a trainee to take down a gang that deals with a reality-altering drug, slow-mo. And to spoil it, the user of this drug, their perception, everything is slowed down. Slow motion, i.e. slow-mo. The person that brought you this movie to start off this new year is Colin, and in a non-accusatory way, as I keep trying to highlight to everyone, why this movie? Why do you feel this fits the bill for the Rabbit Troop?
Because it's fucking awesome. That's why.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, this movie's great.
Came out in 2010 or 2012 when comic movies were starting to get really popular. This one kind of gained a pretty strong cult following, and never really got the sequel that it absolutely deserves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would line up to see a sequel to this movie if it's made in the same vein.
Yeah, I don't think it's too late. We could always have a sequel to this movie, especially if Carl Urban, who plays Judge Dredd, in this iteration, because anytime I'm bringing this up, they're like, Stallone. I'm like, no. And I think that's why Colin brings this up, that everyone still thinks of the Stallone film, which is fine. And we talked about perhaps doing kind of a double feature, and maybe one day we'll go back to Stallone's Dredd. But this movie is awesome. This movie is, if you want an action film, here it is. I would liken this movie very quickly to Mad Max Fury Road, where it's like, I'm going to give you a little bit of story, but you kind of know what's going on, and then the action is just never, ever going to stop. Also, for me personally, the real winning part of this is, I know Carl Urban's going to be like everyone's like favorite is Dredd, and I agree, he's awesome, but the story of this is so well written. It's like in many ways like a day in the life of Judge Dredd, but in other ways it's training day, and then in other ways it's like this super weird B-side story that gets real serious real quickly. It's the writing is awesome. Does anyone dislike the writing of this film?
No. Well, this movie is basically a direct ripoff of The Raid, which is probably the best action movie of the past 20 years. So they're not going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and
also, if you haven't seen The Raid, you definitely should.
I absolutely love the environment, like the setting of this movie, the grittiness of it.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, and when you say create a sequel, I would love to see more of Mega City 1 rather than just the one building that they were in, even though that building was like 200 stories tall and was big enough to like self-contain this particular story. But I would love to see more of Mega City 1.
Jeremy, I don't disagree. And I feel that, as you noting, this movie was self-contained to what we'll talk about as like this huge area where people live, like almost like a city itself. That's why it was like almost like a B-side story. Like, it's not just the whole like universe of Mega City 1. It's just this one isolated area on one day of Judge Dredd's life. I'm like, this movie is crazy. Like, if you just think about it in that context, that's crazy. Like, this is like the day, evening, morning.
Yeah. It's like, it's a rookie story, but Judge Dredd's probably done the same thing 50 times in the last year.
Well, and also I feel there's a moment where Judge Dredd's like, whoops. Like, oh, like there's a lot of people that are after me. Like he acknowledges it. I mean, he has to. We'll talk about how this movie kind of ends, and he does recognize that things happened that were not in anyone's control, and sometimes you got to go off the books and do the best you can, and that's the best you could be for this job, which is crazy and so well written. So when Colin suggested this, I was super stoked. I had not seen this movie, I think, since it came out, 2012. The original was 1995, if anyone did not know that, so 95.
They separated like...
Another Rob Schneider.
Yep.
Yeah, Rob Schneider.
Part in there. Yeah.
I do have to admit that I would have rather done the 95 Judge Dredd, but I think no one else would have preferred that.
I would have also enjoyed that, because this is just going to be like a gush fest.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could always go back to that. And I noted the comic originally written in 1977, so got a huge backstory of Judge Dredd.
Are any of you guys familiar with the comics at all?
No.
I've
No,
just
I don't
seen
know
it.
any of them. Judge Dredd.
Going into comic book stores, I've always seen like them sitting there, but I never picked them up. I regret it.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly... So I know all of you are like, we should go back and watch the 95 Stallone. I'm totally for this. I'm not against this by any means. But the crazy thing is, like, you think this is going to be a very serious story, and it is. It's just not the Stallone version. And as Lamar's like, have we read the comics? And no one has. That there's a psychic involved. So the rookie cop that will be a huge part of the story is a psychic. And they even note this is kind of rare in this world, or rare that someone kind of has it enough together that they could be useful to the police force or the judge force or whatever their force actually is. But I feel that's like this bonks thing. It's like, whoa, what? Like all of a sudden, like a psychic has entered the room. It's like literally we're all like, there's like 70 wizards on Earth. We're about to meet one. And we're like, oh, that's crazy. And I feel that's what's happening.
Well, I feel like they really needed a protagonist that wasn't wearing a helmet the whole movie.
Yeah.
So they had to like write their way into a reason why an attractive woman wouldn't be wearing a helmet.
But
I mean, and it works. I'm just
they did it well.
That's
right,
clearly what was happening.
But it's just crazy because now that there's the psychic, like with Judge Dredd, there's like a new angle and it's going to help him. And it's also like this point of inquiry as the audience, like, is she good? Tell me more about psychics. Even the people she's meeting that are villains are like, whatever, psychics. I've heard of this. It's like honestly, like you just met a Jedi. Like, what's going on? Like, and she's like wrecking shop. So it's like super crazy. So I will say this. I would not, and there's going to be a spoiler because I'm going to highlight she does live. I would not want her or a psychic in the sequel. I would want, Jeremy, I agree with you. I want to see more of Mega City 1.
Yeah.
But I don't just need it to be like, let's continue the story of Anderson, the psychic. Let's have another day in the life of Judge Dredd. Carl Urban could totally come back in any time in his life, just probably with a heftier paycheck because everyone loves him from The Boys. But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I think the sequel should be technically like a combination of Judge Dredd and Soylent Green, where like there is a conspiracy where they're like taking, because they take bodies to be recycled. I mean, what do they do with these bodies?
Yeah, I don't think it's a conspiracy in this world.
Sure. I mean, let's take a total different angle. So now we're not dealing with like a psychic. We're dealing with some kind of out of control robotic force that he needs to deal with or whatever, like Terminator style.
So you want it to be RoboCop?
Well, I'm just like anything. It shouldn't be a continuation of their story here. That's why
I agree.
That's why I like this story. It's just like, whoa, who's this psychic? Oh my God. Like, you're trying to like acclimatize to like the fact that Carl Urban is Judge Dredd and not Stallone. And then this movie is ultimately super serious. Yeah. And you're like, oh man.
Or they could basically redo the 95 version where it's like, hey, we have this established character in this awesome world. Now we can go back and kind of, highlight his origin, something like that.
That'd be cool.
So the sequel should be a remake of the Stallone.
Absolutely.
But Rob Schneider
I'm into that.
comes back and plays the same character.
Yeah.
Also fine with that.
There's also some undertone in the movie when you're talking about like she's a psychic. Like I think she's like a psychic but a mutant, and there's this weird undertone that there's something like society's maybe against mutants.
I got that X-Men vibe.
Yeah, so did I. Growing up reading X-Men, you just kind of get that vibe.
I can't remember. One of the villains, I think, says, if I'm not mistaken, he's like, "Oh, you're a psychic," and he's like taunting her. I think it was a villain, but I think he said something like, "That person wasn't born with all their limbs, or they were like physically messed up."
It's alluded to that most mutants that have any kind of useful power are like pretty fucked.
That's what I meant, kind of like that she had it all together. Like, I don't know if there's like a physical disability, a mental disability. I don't know if it's a combination of both. Well, it just seems like someone who is like, I am in control of my psychic powers and I'm physically okay. That seems more rare in this world.
Yeah.
Well, and like they did make mention that like normally people that have mutant psychic powers are not exceptionally attractive like this particular one is. They usually have like, you know, nubby arms and whatnot.
I mentioned that. But yeah, the one villain's like basically alluding that like most psychics are kind of uggos.
They really are, aren't they? Though
she's looking okay. Whoever the fuck this person. I don't know who
she was in Juno.
Yeah, Olivia Thirby. So I have her name down. Yeah, she was in Juno, and I think I know who she was. I think she was the friend in Juno. The newest movie.
That's the only thing I know her from.
There's a new movie Juno. That got terrible reviews. It's written and directed by Charlie Day. Dumb Money, 2023. She's in that. And The Whackness, 2008.
The Whackness?
Maybe I just don't run in the same circles as her movies. Like, I thought she was really good in this, but I've seen Juno clearly like when it came out, but I did not remember her.
I thought this woman was awesome. I thought like straight. So I immediately was like, what else have I seen her in? There's not a lot of dialogue in this film, and Karl Urban is really good at that. I mean, if you've seen The Boys, he says stuff, but he also doesn't say stuff. And so, I mean, I just feel like a lot of people would see that. This woman does exactly the same thing. I thought she was awesome. Just like straight up a power like house of this movie, because she's got these awesome psychic abilities. She's well trained in martial arts, self-defense. So she's using a combination of all these things, and you and your like the audience totally understand that. So yeah, that's just one of many awesome things. Karl Urban, I mean, did anyone dislike him as Judge Dredd in this?
He was fantastic. Yeah. So he actually wore the helmet and never smiled during the entire like day of filming, while he like each day until he took off the helmet at night. He was like in the Dredd character the entire like filming day.
Yeah. I have a weird comparison to make here, because I feel like they made two different movies. I feel like Karl Urban was acting like he was in kind of a cheesy 90s comic book movie full of like weird one-liners and all the weird shit he says, but everyone else was making like a serious action movie. It's like my weird comparison, because I recently watched it because of the holiday, and bear with me, the reason A Muppet Christmas Carol is good is because Michael Caine is not acting like he's in a Muppet movie.
There are articles written about this.
Okay, yeah, he's just like, he's playing it straight. He's not interacting with Muppets like they're Muppets, and that is why that movie is great, and that's why this movie is great, because Judge Dredd is a different character than everyone else, and it's fucking great.
In the Muppets Christmas Carol, I believe that was the condition of Michael Caine working on the movie. He's like, I will do this, but like I'm going to do this like as Ebenezer Scrooge, and they're like, okay, and like everyone agreed to it, so there wasn't some like weird thing. And there are articles that's why that movie comes together, and I agree that. I'm not always like, yeah, Muppet stuff like all the time, even though I have a kid.
You shouldn't be.
But I like that one specifically for that reason. Like the Muppets are just kind of like side commentary most of the way, and guides throughout that film. But yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mike. Judge Dredd has a bunch of one-liners, but they're always kind of border one-liners. You're like, I just feel the writing is really ingrained with the idea that we've all seen the Stallone version, that you're expecting certain things. So he sometimes will say a couple things, and you're like, did he just say that? But you're like, did he mean it that way? And you're like, that's just the Judge Dredd way. Which is amazing, which I love.
I have a feeling that's like maybe a quip from the comics. Maybe that's his thing. He just lets loose one-liners. And I think they just come across a lot better here than the Stallone movie.
I don't know. I think there were a handful of lines that Stallone had that when Karl Urban said, I was like, not quite there.
I think the reason why I like the one-liners here is because they're not chuckling one-liners. They're like, they're scratching your chin. One-liners like yes, and then you move on.
So Lamar, do you have familiarity with the Dredd comics? Like, do they still make Dredd comics?
no
Or is that
idea.
Played out now.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Wow.
There is a bundle service online. I think it's Humble Bundle. And I remember one of them not too long ago was a series of comics, digital comics, and some of them were more modern Judge Dredd. I don't know, like, if today or this year they still make them. It seems at least periodically they are. Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I could get into this comic, though, because I love this character.
Yeah.
I love the judge, jury, and executioner, like, all wrapped up into one.
Here's another plus, and we were about then we should just jump in, I guess. As we noted, like, there are two really main characters on like the good side. We'll get to other characters. So you have the psychic Anderson. We'll kind of, we've given you a little bit of backstory. We'll put that together here in a second. You get Judge Dredd, Judge Joseph Dredd. So one thing I really like, I like that there's no romantic element whatsoever. I feel a lot of action movies really try to dip this way, especially at the end or various other things. There is no romantic element. It is Judge Dredd is a very seasoned judge who is also, as they note in this movie, in the future, that you are judge, jury, executioner. That if you find someone breaking the law, you do by the law, which could be killing them or subduing them and bringing them to some kind of like weird cube prison.
ISO chambers.
Yeah, ISO chambers. But yeah, and then on this particular day, it's you're going to be training this woman, which we'll get into, and then it's their story for a training mission, which goes haywire real quickly. Not to do to anyone on that team, which is crazy. It's just so well written. And yeah, I just feel a lot of times is that at the end is like, call me, we'll be together forever. And I like that at the end. It's like, I don't know if we're ever seeing that person again.
All right, let me ask you this. Judge Dredd 2. They go and thaw out John Spartan from the ISO chamber, and it's a fucking Demolition Man Dredd crossover.
Okay, well, hear me out. Let's combine exactly what you and Colin just said. Let's redo Judge Dredd with Stallone. Exactly the same, just with Carl Urban. All the same actors, Rob Schneider included, the exact same dialogue, just Carl Urban, and he doesn't take off the helmet.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Making money here, guys.
There we go. Netflix. Boom. Check.
Damn.
Those are some intellectual properties that we somehow now own and control. Yeah. So, welcome to Mega City 1. It is a terrible wasteland. It goes from Boston to Washington, D.C. There are 8.
It's a huge city.
It is, but that's all that's left. And they're in America, in North America. It's 800 million people, and Mega City 1 is the city that everyone lives in. And we're going to get into basically a faction of that city soon. But that's the backdrop that there have been wars. There's radiation problems, mutants now. You know that story.
Yeah. How many mega cities are there? Because you see a flag a couple times with like 7 stars on it.
There's 6.
6? Okay.
6 stars.
I have a theory. The comic bundle that I saw, I think Lamar in the comic universe, I don't want anyone to super quote me, but this might be in the same universe as RoboCop.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
I could totally see that.
Bam.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I mean the comic book universe. Like, so
Right.
there
Yeah.
could be crossovers. So, RoboCop goes a strolling in the future one day.
Yeah, why aren't they putting Rabbit Troop Sucks in charge of some kind of like fucking production company that makes comic book
We just
movies?
need to
I mean,
start
we have
one.
original ideas,
Yeah.
you know?
And the influence
We're-
to make it happen.
I think we could do it.
Yeah.
Colin believes.
I do.
Yeah. He does. We all believe.
We could write and take turns.
Okay. Yeah, we're in Mega City 1. The Hall of Justice is the organization that the judges work for. And they ride around all day on dope motorcycles looking for stuff to do.
This would be one of the few moments where I'm like, I'm going to ding this movie a little bit. Those motorcycles don't look awesome. I think
they look like they did in the comics. I think.
Yeah,
They look fucking stupid.
but
they were real. They built them, which is cool.
I think they just should have been these should have been night shots. I think seeing them in the broad daylight, like in between bridges and tunnels and stuff like that, when you see the light hit them, you're like, ooh, it's kind of like cheap looking.
Yeah, they just should have been cooler looking.
Yeah,
I do like how their sirens are just 3 tiny lights on the front. Like that's the only notice you get.
They don't need those sirens. That's all for show.
Yeah, it is. But Dredd encounters some drug dudes in a van doing drug stuff.
Yeah, one of them is doing slow-mo.
Yeah, one of them is doing slow-mo. And he decides to deal with this by chasing them. Or whatever he's trying to do.
This is our first introduction to slow-mo. And tell me
Yeah.
this, guys, would you do this shit?
No, this
is
sounds terrible.
I don't
the most
understand- I don't
terrible
even
fucking
understand
thing.
what the drug is supposed to do. So it slows down time. So it seems like what, maybe 5 seconds happens over the course of in your mind, like maybe 20 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah,
which
I don't know.
is super weird.
Yeah, why?
And
like,
second
my
of all,
life
like,
sucks. I want to do drugs and make it seem like my life.
like
is
let's
way longer.
extend it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Well-
let's extend this out.
Well, I'm kind of disagreeing with you, with all of you, because
I do love the way that it looks, though.
Yeah.
Like the cinematography when they're on the slow-mo.
So that's the thing, Jeremy. I do kind of disagree with you with how this looks. So would I do this in the back of a van while someone's
Yeah.
like recklessly driving? No. But later we're going to see a character doing this in a bubble bath, and that seems to make more sense in my
Yes.
mind. Like if you did it in that way, that seems relaxing, not, oh my God, I might die. Let's slow that down. So
Yeah, I
I'm
guess.
very conflicted why this guy's doing it. But I mean, I would imagine
Yeah.
because it's very addictive and it's a drug.
Yeah. Grab you right by the horns.
Ugh.
So, in counterpoint to Jeremy, what you said, I kind of didn't really like the way. I kind of liked the way they looked. I just felt like the slow-mo scenes were too fucking slow.
They are.
This
Yeah.
movie was originally released in 3D, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why it didn't do super well.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
man, I remember that.
So, like,
I don't.
yeah, it was released in 3D. It was kind of towards the end of, I think, 3D being interesting to anybody. But like there are so many scenes that were clearly supposed to be viewed in 3D, and when you're looking at it flat, it's just like the scene is going on and on. Why is everything sparkling? A lot of that just took a long time for me.
Okay, makes a lot more sense now.
That's my only complaint. I would have, if I was seeing it in 3D, I'll bet I would have thought it was rad. But
This movie's not very long either.
I know.
If they cut them, it'd be like an
well,
hour
that's
long.
what I'm saying. Like you have a 90-minute movie, and there's like 12 minutes of slow-mo scenes of people doing drugs.
And they shoveled most of the slow-mo scenes in the beginning, so they got
did,
that out of the
yeah.
way, which I think is kind of nice. They didn't sprinkle it throughout the whole movie. That would have been annoying to every 5 minutes
yeah,
have to sit
exactly.
there and watch that.
Yeah.
We should do this podcast in slow-mo.
Okay, I'm doing slow-mo right now.
Yeah, for a 4-hour session.
Yeah, I've been recording for eight years now. We should just run, is there like a Talkboy filter we can run this through? So
Yes.
for the listeners at home.
Yes.
The Father.
Do any of you listen to podcasts sped up when you listen to them on your own time?
No.
Do we do what?
Listen to podcasts.
There's
sped up.
one that I do, but
okay.
he intentionally talks slow, and I think that's the reason why. So when I listen to it, he sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah, my girlfriend listens to podcasts at like 1.5 speed or something, and every time I walk into the kitchen when she's making dinner, it's like, is there a fucking auctioneer in here? Like, what the fuck are you listening to? Why don't you do this normally?
She's efficiently using her time.
yeah, like you got a lot to get through. I don't know. I couldn't do it. It sounds super
Nah,
weird.
there's some host you can just tell the difference. It's like, oh, no, don't want.
No,
It's like I want to consume something, but I don't want to understand any of it.
right. I want to get it over with.
Yeah.
That's an edible.
Yeah.
Well, this little intro gives you who Judge Dredd is, and then he shoots a guy in the head or in the mouth. His head ignites, and he calls him a hotshot. And then
That's the round he fired
And
into
then-
his face.
yeah, and then
hot
we
shot. Like,
and
yeah.
and then we just kind of figure out this guy's a total badass, and this woman's like, "Hey, Dredd, I need to talk to you. Check this out." And we then meet who I have already noted, Cassandra Anderson. Cassandra is a notable psychic in literature and lore, so look that up. But I was like, that's kind of weird. But they just reference her as Cassandra forever and always. And
Wait, what?
Or Anderson.
Anderson.
Nerd.
No, explain. I'm curious. Like Cassandra, what?
There's like a notable woman who like got the ability for psychic powers, but was like unable to like really give the verbiage to what she saw in her mind, and eventually like lost her mind because of this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Cool.
But yeah, she is a potential new judge, and this is how it works. And she's not the best as far as the Academy goes. She's actually like 3 points. I don't even know what this means. 3 points shy of passing a test. But they're like, hey, here's the thing. She's like
Should
the
have
best.
killed her roommate.
Yeah, she's like the best psychic we've ever met at any point in time, and she's willing to work for us, and she knows a lot of stuff. So, what didn't she get in her test? Like, is my thought like a written test?
I'm guessing it was written like maybe some stats or
Yeah,
something.
a
that she
study
wanna-
buddy.
Or like, it could be some kind of physical aptitude thing too. It could be like a combination of everything. Maybe she can't ride the motorcycles very well on her own.
Oh, it could be the motorcycle. Because she's like pretty instantly a badass.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know what the problem is at any point in time, but I agree with Colin. Like, did everything add up? Because if it's just a written exam, and you're like, this person could be a huge asset to our team, then just get someone on the force to like be her study buddy. Like, I'm not saying like cheat, but be like, these questions will be on the exam, and we're gonna cover them. The end.
Well,
do better.
Well, my thing is also, if you have a psychic that has the amount of power that this lady does, because she's like the most powerful psychic that they have like recorded so far, and she's good looking, like you're gonna put her into the interrogation room. She's not gonna be a field like judge.
Well, also,
she's in the interrogation room. They're bringing people to her like, hey, did this guy really do this? She's like, yeah, he did. He's a fucking asshole.
And if she's a psychic, I can't see her failing the written portion.
Yeah.
What if they did the written portion with helmets on?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe isolated.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
I have
Another important caveat to this too is they said that she was a mutant, and judges like, oh, then why is she even here? Kind of implying that mutants aren't even allowed to be judges anyway.
Fair.
Yeah. I also have a working theory, that she's going under an assessment. I have a feeling she maybe failed an emotional test, or I have a feeling when you get into judgment, there's a lot more emotional test than there is maybe written.
Lamar, I agree that is the biggest deficiency that she shows initially. I'm going to say that is not all throughout, that we, the audience, are shown she might not emotionally be able to deal with criminals for various reasons. I'm not saying anything negative, and that could be a problem. And I agree, Lamar, because that is shown in numerous ways, where Judge Dredd is more like black and white, yes and no. Like that's how this world operates.
I mean, you kind of have to be, though, in a city with 800 million people.
But,
like, you have to be black and white.
But then, just remember, she does not have the insight, or he does not have the insight that she does to the individual when she gets into their mind. So it could be a problem. Right. It's like a blessing and a problem. Like, she's in your mind, and you're a good person. She's not tinkering with you. If you're a bad person, she's totally going to tinker, and there are awesome scenes about this. But if you're a good person, it's like, oh, like you actually are being made to do bad things, or you have a backstory, and I saw that. I'm not going to kill you. Where later judges like, kill him. She's like, nah. He's like, okay. Boys. It's my plug-in.
But yeah, so they go off to go about their day, just normal day. The chief or whatever is like, just throw her in the deep end. And it's all a deep end.
And then he goes over all the things that will get her disqualified. Like, you lose your gun, you're going to be disqualified in this assessment. Like, you get captured, you'll be disqualified. You do this, you'll be disqualified. But I do love that he throws out some stuff. He's like, we're going to go out, and we're a city of 800 million or whatever I said. And he's like, with our staff, we're able to actually police 6%. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they get 17,000 calls a day or something.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, oh my God. So I right then and there, I'm like, he's a realist. Like, he's very clearly like, this is where we're at. And, he's like, and she goes like something like, where do we begin?
Yeah, like,
and
how do you pick the 6%? He's like,
roll the dice.
Yeah, you pick.
And so that's what's crazy again. This is just random. She's like, let's go here. And this is the story. It's like, oh my God. Like, that's crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
And she's not using her psychic abilities. This is just a random luck of the draw case that he's like, it's all the same in the end. And so
Yeah,
there
I
they
would have
go.
picked like a 7-Eleven robbery. Rather
I don't
than
really
whatever happened
feel
in this
she
building.
even like fully looks. She's like, it's like an apartment complex. Let's go
Peachtree.
there. Yeah, cool.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I love peaches. They're $1 million in the future.
there's no peaches.
Nah.
There's a city in Atlanta called Peachtree City, and everybody drives golf carts instead of cars, and it's actually kind of cool.
Do you think it's based on this movie?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I think
they
it's
have
based
their
on
own.
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, they just have one Judge Dredd, and he just takes care of Peachtree City.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I imagine that Judge Dredd is more like Captain Ron, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
well,
he wears floral
Yeah.
floral body armor.
he does a lot of like selfie Instagram posts. It's just him, and in the backdrops, like everything looks nice. He's wearing a mask.
yeah.
Millions of peaches. Peaches for me. It's the Judge way.
Oh my god, we've gone off the rails sooner than I thought.
Well, we're going to peach trees.
Yeah, they got the case. They got called there because 3 bodies got thrown from 200 stories up
Yeah. Whoops.
and landed in like the courtyard.
Yeah. So again, these segments of cities are huge. 200 stories, and that's clearly not heard of.
That's big.
Yeah. That's just where we're at in the future, condensed and building up.
Yeah,
They're everywhere from the opening shots and I don't know if you saw the mega city, just towers just randomly spotted everywhere and
Yeah.
then smaller structures. And these 3 guys, apparently they were treading on some turf they shouldn't have been treading on.
yeah, maybe like a drug deal gone bad or some kind of shit.
Are we ever exactly told what they've done?
I think
Yes.
they
were,
Yeah, we do.
'cause they were dealing drugs on the 19th floor. Kay told them to get lost, and they came back.
yeah.
Oh,
Motherfucker.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was their
Yeah.
it was their second warning on dealing drugs on the worst building possible.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also our introduction to Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Mama's clan, and Mama's running this. And we get Cersei Lannister herself in charge.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, this is the bubble bath scene. I like the effects of the slow mo here.
Yeah, this totally made more sense. Like you're in a relaxing bubble bath and you want to make this moment last longer. So you see like almost like fairy dust, like you've now been bewitched, you're intoxicated, and you're seeing these crystallized bubbles and everything's slow. I would imagine you're in a warm bath, you're taking that in even more. Some a-hole comes in. Mama, mama, mama.
Yeah, that part would
Mommy.
really that'll blow your high.
Yeah. But I understand her point of view of why she would want to take it much more than the guy in the back of a van.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, she has a bathtub.
Was-
The guy in the van has a van.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw this out. We could get super gritty with this. So, the bubble bath seems eloquent and nice and warm. So, the guy in the back of the van, I don't know, go to your future equivalent of McDonald's. Like, get a mouthful of, like, just greasy, salty awesomeness. Then
Those
do
are
that
recycled people that he's eating.
Oh, probably.
You should know that.
Oh, probably. Tricycled. It's like they become rat people, then they're recycled again into other people. But yeah, do it then. Like, just that seems like a little dirty, gross fun. But you're like, yeah, this like meat juice and grease is gonna last forever. Just like the back of a van. Like, damn, dude.
he loves that van.
Maybe it's a nice van.
It's
You
not.
know, it's probably
It's not.
a comfy bench seat back there.
You saw what's going on. Van people now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, Dredd and what's her name, Anderson?
Yep.
Yeah. They get to the peach tree. They see the 3 splatted bodies. They're kind of investigating, and this is we get our first glimpse that Anderson might be maybe not cut out for this. I mean, these bodies, they fell from 200 stories up. They are goo.
Oh, they were also skinned.
Yeah, they were flayed, right?
Oh, they were
Yeah,
flayed.
yeah.
That's right. And he lifts up the little blanket, takes a look at one of their mouths, which is barely a mouth. He's like, you see that? And she's kind of like, this is fucking gross, bro. He's like, this person has burns from a slow-mo inhaler. So probably some drug punishment killing stuff going on.
You could also tell there's like a vibe with the Judge Dredd that he could even, once it's noted that these victims took these drugs, even though that they're criminals, I felt there was a vibe. He's like, that's even extra messed up. Like there was like a elephant in the room, and it was like these criminals took it one step up. Like, you're gonna do this and like slow down, so they're gonna feel like every moment of this. Like, we're dealing with like someone a little extra in the mix.
Yeah.
A little
extra.
spice.
Yeah.
Well, and the Peachtree medic, I guess, comes out and kind of explains what is probably the case. He explains who Mama is. She's an ex-hooker from the S9 Pleasure District. Sounds like a good time.
It does.
Her pimp kind of beat her up. She bit his penis off, and now she runs the Peachtree.
Yeah.
I know that's like the Cliff's notes of this, but
And also noting something Mike highlighted before, that and Jeremy, that Judge Dredd never takes off his helmet. Carl Urban wanted it this way. Anderson is not wearing a helmet, and Judge Dredd does inquire about this. He's like, you need to wear a helmet. And she's like, wearing a helmet could interfere with my psychic abilities. And Judge Dredd goes, I think a bullet might interfere with that more. And those are kind of his fun one-liners. That's his Christmas card. That's his compassion.
Those are two truths.
Like,
he's not wrong.
I think a bullet might interfere with that more. Happy Valentine's Day.
There you go.
But yeah, so we learn it all. We learn about some characters. We learn about why some people are wearing helmets, why some people aren't.
Yeah.
And it's all done without like wasted scenes. It's flawless how it flows.
Yeah.
No, it's great writing. This movie has great writing.
It is. There's not a ton of like exposition. No one's really explaining a lot.
That's why I love this movie.
Nice for me. Yeah.
You get enough.
You're just like, I kind of
Keep it short, keep it simple, man.
You've probably seen the Stallone
recipe
movie.
for success.
Maybe you read the comics, maybe a mixture of both, and even if you didn't, you just have enough to be like, okay, it's the future. This is like how the future, like law enforcement works.
Yeah.
All right, this sucks.
You, the viewer, don't really ever know more than Dredd does. Like, you find out things as he is finding them out.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
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 And the world building doesn't need
Good
much.
times.
It kind of explains itself
Yeah,
through visuals. And
exactly.
You get it together.
Yeah,
You're not dumb.
you're in a tower, you're solving a murder, or 3, or whatever. It's all fine.
Well, they basically bust down a door and they find a bunch of people, like in drug dealers. And it seems just kind of like, I don't know, another day at the peach trees.
Yeah, it's like a drugged in. They break in on a. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
And
they find out, they identify the 3 people that were killed. And, the building computer tells them, like, oh, they're from the 39th floor. Like, okay, well, where's the drug district on the 39th floor? He's like, it's that one. So that's where they go. And they bust down the door. I loved this slow-mo scene because it's Judge Dredd shooting everyone in the fucking face. And just watching the bullets go through these people's like cheeks and jaws in slow motion was disgusting.
It's amazing.
But it's also crazy because like 2 dudes roll up at the door and they're like, oh, I just want to buy drugs. So it's like a drug deal gone well.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, here's some drugs. There's a couch. Go do it. And they're like, cool, we're going to do drugs. And we paid. And everyone's cool. And like other people are playing poker and doing drinks. And
Yeah. It just
everything's
looked like
fine.
a party.
But then Judge Dredd busts down the door, and even these people who are like, oh crap, I just bought drugs, they're pulling out guns and they're getting total shot at in the face.
Yeah.
Now they have an arrest, especially this guy K. K is arrested, and that's fine. Not a big deal. But the twist in the story is the psychic reads his mind and looks at Judge Dredd and is like, "This is one of the dudes who skinned those people alive," which no one would have ever known that. But you have a psychic in the mix, and she's like, "I read his mind." And here's the thing,
and she's like, "I'm 99% sure." He's like, "That's not good enough. We gotta be 100% sure."
Yeah, but he's like, "We can't convict on that, but he's gonna get interrogated, so he's probably not gonna survive the interrogation by keeping any information."
It is implied that the interrogations are
guaranteed
fruitful.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: like, would this movie have played out any differently if they would have just blown that guy's brains out?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been the end of the movie. They would have just left.
Yeah. Because Ma says later, like, if you just killed him, we would have let you go. But like, we can't have this guy interrogated. That's the big thing. And so let's lead it there. So Judge Dredd's like, okay, we're going to call this in. We're bringing this guy down. It's going to be, as Mike noted, fruitful in the interrogations. And Ma's looking at this through a security lens. They have this techie hacker guy of sorts. And he's like, okay, they're going here, but they've got K. And she's like, oh, shit. He can't talk. He can't be interrogated. Like, we either want him with us or dead. And we just cannot have this happen. So they come up with a plan, which is, I feel dumb. This I don't like this in the movie. This could have been definitely better written. But they come up with a plan where they call the security company of this mega city, and they're like, we need to put all these blast shields down, which looks like blast shields would cost like $1 billion, if not more. And they put them all down. And they're like, oh, okay, because like we were gonna run this test, and I wrote you.
Yeah, it's like a nuclear missile preparedness test.
Yeah, and the techie's like, I wrote you, and now my job's on the line, and you've got to do it. And they're like, well, we don't have this scheduled. And he's like, my boss is here. Like, you got to do this. And they're like, okay. So they put down like this $1 billion security shield, and now no one could get in or out. And this is all done basically over essentially a phone call.
And it like killed people.
Yeah. No way.
They killed the one guy anyway.
Yeah,
could have killed more.
Just also like, you're the security company. Like, no. Like, just from a phone call, I would be like,
yeah,
like, I'm willing to do this after I talk to 12 other people and I have most of their names.
Well, they did sneak into like the building control room and kill a bunch of people and do some hacking first. So like they were doing this
loose.
No, I'm not trying to justify it, but like they did at least write in a mechanism for like they were pretending to be building.
I just feel it would be like if someone.
I do want to contextualize this for you, Paul. Though, like there are 800 million people in this city. This particular apartment building holds 75,000 people. If you were to take 800 million and divide it by 75,000, you would get something like over 10,000 of these apartment buildings.
You're wanting to do math now?
Well, I think that just the thing is, it seems that this system, these blast shields, it is so high tech and so expensive that there's no way someone would be like, all right, let me just flip a switch on this one. Like, it's too massive of a thing. Even if the numbers of the populace is down, it's just too massive of a flip switch for someone just to be like, oh, okay.
I mean, I don't think that guy gave a shit.
To be clear,
That's clear.
It wasn't the blast shields that was an issue. It was the blast shields were internal. It was that when the blast shields go down, they notify like the Hall of Justice, and they didn't want judges to come. So like the call was to disable like the notification to the Hall of Justice.
Right. They were basically it's like the modern day equivalent would be like
a fire day.
Yeah,
like a fire alarm.
Like we're going to do a fire drill. The alarms are going to go off. Don't send the fire engine.
Yeah.
Right. But they, on their end, were like, we don't have that scheduled.
Right. But then the guy was like, you know what? You're one building out of 25,000 of these.
10,000.
Yeah. So I don't give a shit. Like you do what you want.
And to their point, it's probably a lot easier to social engineer your way to get what you want because the other person's not going to care.
I have a problem with the social engineering term, by the way. Like, when people commit crime, when people commit fucking like internet crimes now, instead of like being criminals, they are now social engineers.
Yep,
they're both.
What the fuck is wrong?
That's how far we've fallen.
All right, that's my soapbox for that. But fine, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel. This security company probably has a dozen people working for them for this reason. Like you're fielding the calls, and if some rando's like, "Hey, this isn't working," you should be like, "I want to speak to your supervisor, Tom Smith, who I have on file here." They're like, "What?" Like, and when they say no to that, you're like, "Hell no!" The end. Like, it just cannot be a random call. Be like, "But I'm Chuck Smith." Calling in, they're like, oh, I don't have anything scheduled. Like, my boss is here. Oh, whatever. Like, I just feel like that could not be the case.
Well, like, and it turns out to be kind of a moot point anyway, because the blast scores, later on in the movie, judges come anyway, and then they can't get in.
I'm also going to highlight that's dumb when they're like, what?
Yeah.
They can't get in anyway.
You can't come in.
They could have
All
closed the blast doors, let the judges come, and then just let it happen.
Yeah, those are the two. This and when those judges come, that is the part of the writing I think dips into awfulness. It's very quick. It's a flash in the pan.
Well, we've been talking about it for a while now.
Well, it's just dumb.
It's unacceptable, and I'm done with this podcast.
There's
See
another
you
dumb
guys.
part about this too, where instead of saying, "Hey, let's go get those judges," why not say kill Kay? Still resolves the story.
Yeah,
Because every kiss begins with K.
I actually thought of that. I think the reason there is like, if you're going to kill this person, you have to go through the judges. Like, they're not going to just be like, oh, no, here you go, I don't want him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's an all for one.
Just leave it open. Kill any of those three.
It was implied
Yeah.
that Kay is probably going to get killed in the mix.
Yeah,
but kill them all.
I'm sure if someone had killed Kay accidentally or, on purpose, but, trying to hit one of the judges and was like, hey, Ma, I killed that dude, she'd be like, great, we're done. Yeah. Open the doors, they can leave.
I like that Anderson reads Kay's mind in the elevator and demonstrates part of her psychic abilities, and she goes, she just kind of blinks. Sometimes you like see in her mind and these situations play out, but sometimes you just see that she is reading someone's mind, and this is more a blink, I'm reading your mind. And she just goes, he's thinking about grabbing your gun. And Judge goes, yep. And then he looks at the judge, and she goes, he changed his mind. Yep. Kay knows. Kay's no dummy.
Yeah.
Judge knows too. He's been there a million times.
Yeah, he knows the drill.
Yeah.
They're
So
always going to go for the gun.
now, despite the bad writing, we are now in war protocol. All the blast shields are down. Ma's got her microphone going on the PA. And now this is where she says, okay, everyone in the building who works for me, kill them.
No
People who don't-
quarter.
Yeah, no quarter. Everyone else stay inside. If anyone helps them, I'll kill you and the next 3 generations of your family or whatever.
Yeah, well, she's honest. She's direct.
That's Kim Jong-il right there.
Yeah.
pretty much.
So now everyone's arming up and going on the hunt.
And as soon as those blast shields are down, no one could radio into Control, who is the head office for all of the judges, which I like. That's immediately established. She's like, I'm just going to call in. And I go, God, I cannot call in. And it is now Dredd and Anderson. And that's it. Boom.
This is the only time.
Well, and so one of the things that I don't like about this scene is like they go to like the medical bay, and the medical guy's like, I'm not letting you in here. This is like Switzerland here. It's neutral ground. And he's like, all right, well, we don't have any help. Conserve your ammo. Like, you are killing like 40 to 50 people so far that have been well armed. Like, why do you not have ammo? Like, are you not picking up these guns as you go along?
Yeah,
like I get it.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, at one point, Anderson does take someone else's gun, but Dredd never does.
I think his guns, like, he seems to have a magical gun.
Sort of.
Like, I don't know if his ammo's compatible.
It's the same gun that was in Ginger Dead Man. Yeah.
Well, my thought is he underestimates the magnitude of what's happening.
Yeah.
Like at first, where he's not picking up stuff because he's like, I'm going to deal with a handful of thugs. I do this every single day.
Yeah.
Whatever. People are then going to back down. He did not know he was in for like a 500-person rodeo. That is my thought.
Yeah.
And also, some of these guns are tied to other, like the user, which is noted.
Well, their guns are.
Yes.
But he still could have taken one of the thugs' guns when he ran
that's
out.
true.
He couldn't, because then he'd be in possession of, a
Thug gun.
Yeah, thug gun.
By
Is
the
that one
law.
of the criteria?
Thug gun.
Maybe
It's
that's
against
one of
law.
his.
Yeah.
He's Judge
Probably.
Dredd.
That's fair.
Probably.
He is the law.
But this is one of those scenes where you can sense that he's a little fearful for his life. You can sense a little, I don't want to say fear, but he's like, oh shit, we gotta get out of here moments. And she's clearly expressing a little fear as well.
Yeah, and these like mini factions of gangs are getting together, and you could see like they're in like one room. This is total video game. Like he's coming down like a corridor. He's by like this area. A group of thugs are there. They're like, we're gonna get them, these judges, and he just like pops in and like kills everyone. It's super fun to watch. Like I know that sounds like ultra violent, and it is. I mean, this movie's ultra violent. It's very video game and graphic novel esque. It's super fun.
Yeah, I do like this scene because they're kind of pinned down. The guy wouldn't let him into the hospital room. I wouldn't have let him in either.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Anderson, like, what are our options here, rookie? Like, lay it out for me. She's like, well, we can wait for help. We can do this. He's like, you didn't mention the third option. We're gonna have to go through him. Let's give him the good news.
Yeah.
And he throws like a grenade into the room, and then finds them all guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you should.
Yeah. I don't know. I like everything that he says.
That's true.
Then they go silent mode, and my thought is, I don't know really why they needed to do that, but
He's like, let's go silent, conserve ammunition. That is never brought up ever again.
I mean, well, he makes it very clear, like the only shots you should now be taking are to kill.
Right.
So, all right. I mean, I guess if that's how you conserve ammunition, okay.
That's fair. Oh, we also have Anderson doing her first, what we presume is her first execution.
Oh yeah.
When they clear the room of those guys that were kind of pinning him down, one is still alive, and he's like, "Please don't kill me." And Judge Redd's like, "You should 100% kill me."
Yeah, like this guy's found guilty of trying to kill you. So I watched it. He's guilty of it.
And she thinks about it for like a second and maybe flinches a little bit, but she shoots him right in the goddamn face.
Yeah.
Like a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of her backstory too, and you could see the judge kind of like there's this almost like nod. Like, I just feel that's kind of the emotion you get. Like, he does not smile, but it's like, okay. Like, yeah, you might have flinched, but, like, everyone starts somewhere, and then it sounds
everyone
brutal.
gets the first one.
But, yeah, I mean, he said earlier, like, why do you want to be here? You didn't pass the score. She's like, I come from an impoverished background. I relate. This is the reason I picked peach trees. And he's like, whatever, you could do this and that. And she's like, I could help people, and that's my mission in life. Like, to come to places and help people no matter what. And he's like, admirable. Like, there we go. Okay. Like,
right.
So he kind of likes the person enough.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're making their way through the building. And again, they kind of get trapped. No one's seen them, but they're kind of trapped in a hallway. And Anderson uses her psychic powers to kind of realize that she can manipulate her way into this apartment.
Yeah. I like this.
I like this too.
So they,
It's very Judgment Night-esque.
it is. It's very Judgment Night-esque. She kind of weasels her way into this apartment. I don't know that we ever know the woman's name who lets
Kathy.
them in. Is it Kathy?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Crazy Kathy.
yeah, and Kathy's like, look, I don't care about you guys. I just want you to leave. I want you to leave this floor. There's a broken service elevator that's not really broken. Just please leave. And they're like, why are you helping me? She's like, I'm not helping you. Like, my husband is one of the people out there trying to kill you. I don't want him to get hurt. Can you please just leave this fucking floor?
And then Anderson reads her mind and sees who her husband is and realizes it's one of the dudes who was skinned and thrown off a building.
No,
it's
it was
the
the
one
dude she
executed.
shot
No,
in
it
the
was the
face.
guy that she executed.
Like 2 seconds
that's
later.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
The
right.
worst luck
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, whoops.
So they just
That happens.
they kind of do a little collar ring, like oh, and leave.
That's what that moment feels like.
Yeah.
I think she tries to apologize to Kathy, and Kathy's like, just get
Just
the
get
fuck
the fuck
out.
out of
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like floral arrangements? Do you like edible arrangements? I'll send you one. Really into that.
So yeah, they leave. They make their way for the service elevator. They head up to level 76. So I think the criteria was the service elevator was broken unless you went above the 70th. There was something.
Yeah,
Why they
that's
ended up on
it.
floor 76. So they get up there and the nerd
They get trapped there.
They get trapped there because the mama's nerd finds them and is like, I'm going to lock the floor down.
Yeah.
And they do so.
And then they basically take a bunch of Gatling guns and destroy that entire floor.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude.
Yeah, no matter who you are.
They
if you-
killed everybody.
Yeah, if you're innocent, if you're in the way, you're going to get mowed down.
Oh yeah, they killed an entire floor of like families, children, just anyone who was
Yeah.
there.
Luckily, Dredd.
I
came
like
and-
this. I like how gritty it is. Like they're killing kids,
Oh,
like
yeah.
moms, dads.
Mama doesn't give
like
a fuck.
What was their plan?
I love the fact that like they like at this point in time like who Dredd is dealing with now. Like it is a fucking crazy bitch. She doesn't give a fuck about anything except for slow-mo. And if you get in her way, like you're dead. You're just dead.
And luckily, Dredd blows a hole through a wall because he sees there might be an exit.
Yeah, like
So-
one of the Gatling gun bullet holes like shoots through the exterior wall and he sees light.
So him, Kay, and Anderson go through, and it's a bunch of kids like hanging out at this crazy half pipe.
Well, and lucky for them because the entire side of that building was that was the one place that they could have jumped out and not died.
That half pipe goes over the building, so if you go too far over the half pipe, you just die. It's crazy.
It was a
it's fine.
six skate park balcony.
What kind of skateboard?
Listen, you're either a good
Don't worry about my
skateboarder or you're
skateboarding.
dead.
Well, this year Mike is on an all skate pork diet, so.
He loves skateboard.
Anyone have New Year's resolutions? Mike's doing some skate pork.
Yeah, I'm trying to get off the skate pork.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
I have a comment then soon after. I just wrote Jay beats the piss out of K. Or J-
All right.
Judge
So
Dredd.
let me ask you this. So they are out on this like little balcony now where there's like a half pipe and they can finally radio.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do
Like,
radio back.
okay. So when they radio, why wouldn't they say like, hey, by the way, this building's under control of drug lords. Like they've just initiated a fake lockdown as some kind of test. Please send all the people you have. They're trying to kill us. Like, I don't get why just two judges show up later.
He leaves a few crucial pieces of information out of his call for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we're in the middle of something went wrong. We could use a little help. They're like, okay. Not like, oh my God.
Get us the fuck out of here.
I think in his mind, he just thought, just send a couple more judges and we got this.
Yeah.
They're on there's 200 floors. They've had no problems. They're on the 76th floor.
That's true.
A couple more to go. We'll
Yeah.
wrap this thing up.
Yeah, easy.
They've had no problems.
Well, the Gatling gun, that was about it.
Is there something that he does allude to about the blast shields? Because
He does mention it in his call. I can't remember.
yeah,
what he
because
said.
I do feel he's like, oh, when they come, they'll take care of this. Like there is this, I felt illusion that he didn't need to explain too much. He's like, the blast shields are down, take care of it. Like he does say something, and I don't think that's the bad writing. It's when the judges
When
come.
the other
like, what?
two judges get there, they're like, hey, can you lift these blast shields? Like, nah.
No.
Yeah, they're like, nah.
It's kind of like there's a fire on 76. They look up, they're like, I guess he's right. Fuck it.
Yeah, and this is when the techie hacker dude is like, oh, my supervisor's here, and she's like threatening to cut him. She's got like a knife to his chest or some like bladed thing, and he's like, please help. And they're like, okay, we're gonna let it go. I'm like, what? No, dude. Like, so the security system, you guys were arguing this is a number battle. They're probably like, whatever, I don't care. We do whatever, burn in hell. But the judges themselves, I cannot for the life of me imagine to be like, all right. And then they're just standing there.
Yeah, they just wait around.
So it wasn't so much like, all right. It was more like, get it fixed.
Yeah.
That's kind
Right.
of what they were saying. So it's like they were probably hoping that it would get done fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But it's not like they can do that much more. They can't do it from out there.
Yeah.
Does not seem to me that any judge that we've met so far is a patient person
That's
who's
true.
like, I'm going to wait.
These people have not heard of a fucking helicopter. Like,
I
why
know.
are they on the ground?
Don't get me.
these
started.
were-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, again, that thread I told you before was like just the bad writing for me. It's just silly because everything else is so tight in this movie. I was like, why didn't someone be like, this seems a little dumb?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did drop the ball.
Hey, listen. It's okay because we get to see a lot more gruesome violence throughout
Oh,
the
yeah.
rest of this film.
Yeah. Well,
Which is what we're in this for. All right.
Dredd decides that they can't hang out at the skate park because they're not in a defensive position. So they got to
I also think there's a nod to like, it's all kids. And like, we got to get away from these
for sure,
kids.
Yeah, we can't skate. We got to get out of here.
So he goes back and says, yeah, they're going to call
future
us
Tony Hawk.
posers and like make hurt our feelings. We have to beat them in a skate off if we stay.
Wheels are illegal.
So they go back inside. They kind of follow some thugs that are walking around, and right in front of Mama, Judge Dredd picks up like her main dude and throws him off the balcony.
That's another bonkers move.
I love that.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, this guy is like straight up number one, and you think there's going to be like a fisticuffs battle or a shootout or whatever, and Dredd just comes out of the misty shadows, throws this dude down 70 plus floors right in front of Mama, and she's like, oh man. And then he goes right back into the mists. And I was like, damn, dude. Damn. And she...
That's how you do it.
Is just not happy. No. She's just not having it.
She could have shot him.
Yeah.
They still had the guns right there.
Well, they take a long time to warm up, man.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or they ran out of bullets
Yeah,
because
they-
she just kept it going
That's
for
true.
Very true.
quite some time.
Thing was running hot.
Yeah. Well, then they I think all go to like floor 200, right? Like they go back, Mama, right?
Well,
Well, so they go back,
Yeah.
and then these two kids find them, and they're like, "Why didn't you shoot him? No, why did you shoot him?" And they're kind of fumbling around, deciding what to do. They sneak up on him and they tell him to freeze. He
Freeze.
Yeah, he's like, "What? Why?"
Why should I freeze?
I love that. Why?
Think I'm a Slurpee kid.
Yeah. So they kind of get the one up on him. Judge stuns the kids, but Kay gets a hand up on Anderson.
yeah, he just
Yeah.
he
Gets
just
her in the
steps out of
elevator.
his handcuffs. He's like, I'm just gonna step over these, and now I have the advantage.
Yeah. Well, before all this happens, Anderson kind of does a little bit of deep digging into his mind,
Right.
and finds out kind of what the deal is. Like all the Peachtree for the city is made in this building.
The slow mo for the city.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Peachtree.
All
That's the
Peach-
place they're
Sorry.
at.
Oh yeah, all the slow mo is made in Peachtree.
And Mama's running the operation.
Mama's running the operation. Yeah. So I think at this point he knows that he has to get out of there. So yeah, he gets the better of Anderson, takes her up an elevator to go see Mama.
And Mama has a plan where she's like, all right, we're just going to have this look like a crime gone wrong where a bunch of judges got shot. So we're just going to do that. As I noted, she goes back to floor 200. I do like Dredd gets on the intercom for all of the residents to remind them that Mama is a drug dealer. And if you aid her in any way, it's judgment time. And then the judge tricks a bunch of thugs.
Mm-hmm. He also he reminds the citizens of Peachtree who is the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to say it at least once in the movie.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I am the law.
Yeah, so he tricks a bunch of thugs. He's like, hey, and they all come out, and then he shoots a napalm rocket that explodes and targets all of them and sets them so much on gooey lava fire.
Oh, and he's just smiling at it.
Yeah, well, he's not, but you know he is.
Yeah, I mean, he smirks a little bit. He was very pleased with himself.
well, the law's the law.
I like that.
Sometimes the law's fun. Funsies.
That was his incendiary grenade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second worst decision that Mama made comes into play.
She hires out the mercenary judges.
Yeah,
Yep.
she
She
calls
calls 911.
dirty judges.
Yeah. This seems like very accessible. Like 4 judges roll up and she calls them in. And the 2 judges who have been waiting outside are like, hey, man, system's down.
Yeah.
And these guys are like, beep. Hey, it's the judges. Let us in. They just open the door.
Yeah. And those 4 walk in, and the other 2 are just like, derp.
And then, we find out they're willing to do this for 1 million credits. And yes, they will split it amongst the 4 of them, if you're wondering, because it is mentioned now throughout how the split will work. But yeah, they'll do it. And they're doing it because Judge Dredd is a badass. And it seems like 1 million credits isn't a lot. I think
Yeah.
even Judge Dredd says something
Yeah.
later.
Well-
I think like 1 million credits is shit in Mega City 1 times.
Yeah.
They kind of made it seem like it was a lot to Ma, because she was like that's crazy. But the judge was like, you don't know who we're going against. We do.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
that's fair.
worth the price tag.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, think about this. This is like, what is this, 2100 or something like that? Like inflationary times. I don't know.
Yeah, who
I
knows
feel
what a
like this.
credit is,
I
though?
feel like they're doing this for like $95,000.
The
You
biggest
know,
thing
in
to-
like our money.
The biggest thing to note is Dredd is low on ammo. His magic gun is now wearing off and telling him that he's running ammo.
Yeah. Well, and he runs into the judges kind of split up.
Yeah, he runs into another bad judge. Bad judge 1 real
Yeah.
quick.
He figures it out pretty quickly,
Right.
which is
Well, the big thing
handy.
he's like, oh, I'm here to save you and blah, blah, blah. And then Judge Dredd is like, you didn't say us. You know there's another judge here. Why aren't you talking about her? And they're like, what? And at this point in time, they do have the other judge in custody. Captured.
Yeah.
Ma does take her. I don't think we mentioned that. But Anderson is with Ma. She is alive, but she's not there. And so, Judge Dredd just totally breaks this dude's throat after a little bit of a tussle. And he says choke on that while he does it.
Yeah,
Which is
because
baller.
he's awesome and he has
I
to.
think he just broke his windpipe.
I also like how like one of the problems I have with Ma is like up until this time, Ma's like, hey, these people wronged you. skin him and kill him. These people wronged you. Skin him and kill him. Like we have a judge right now. No, let's let her live for a little while longer.
She kind of talks her way out of that. She's like, for her plan to work so that when the lockdown's over, she doesn't have all the judges up her ass. She's like, don't skin these people. Don't fucking rape this girl. Just shoot them and leave them in the lobby so we can create a story. Otherwise, we're all fucked. So
there's enough dead bodies to probably make that presentable. Like,
Right.
There's so many dead thugs to be like they eventually all killed each other.
So that's why she's going against the grain here and not doing weirdo stuff.
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
But yeah, so back on the 200th floor, Kay has Anderson in a room, and they're kind of talking through some stuff. But he has her gun.
This I love.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah. K breaks free, takes his gun, and he's gonna shoot Anderson in the face.
Yeah.
But the gun is DNA encrypted to the user, and the user is Anderson. So the gun immediately is like, "You are not the user," and explodes.
Yeah.
Blows his arm off.
Yeah.
And then she deals with the rest of his intact body parts.
Yeah. He's not getting back up.
Like it's
No.
a freak out moment. Like
I would have liked to
looking at his
see
hand.
him die in more of a painful way. I know he got his
Yeah.
arm blown off, but
Yeah.
I'd have liked to have a more
It
gruesome
wasn't
death of
enough,
that
was
man.
it?
Yeah.
No.
Then we get a second bad judge, and Judge Dredd is like, so like, what's the price of Judge going rogue these days? Guy's like $1 million, but split 4 ways. And Judge is like, split 3. And the guy's like, city's a meat grinder.
I love this talk, dude. The
Yeah.
meat grinder talk. I love that.
All the bullets are gone. And then he uses like the high X. He has 1 left, and it takes out the judge's head.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells other people that now there's a 2-way split, or he just says that to the air. I don't know who he's talking about.
He just wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Also, nice move. So we got a lady judge rolling up on Anderson, and
This is hilarious.
yeah, she walks in. She's like, "You got to lower your gun, rookie." And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "I'm your backup." And she does we don't see, but it's kind of the blink psychic read. And then she shoots her dead right in the face. That is Anderson.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it was
yeah.
great.
and we're going to move on to the
Yeah,
next.
That's
and
scene
good.
right here.
That's
awesome.
Right, that's the genius of this movie. You think there's going to be a battle? I'm like, you've got a psychic with a gun.
No, yeah.
Like that.
Well-
the woman read your mind, knows exactly what's happening, and is not even hesitating
No one really
anymore.
seems to know. And the lady judge earlier was like, I'm going to go after her once she escaped. And Ma was like, okay, you sure? She's like, yeah, like, I'll see her first and shoot her, or she'll see me first, hesitate, and I'll
Yeah.
shoot her. She
Which
was
makes
talking,
sense.
Talking a big game.
Yeah, it was a build-up when I thought there was going to be something.
Didn't fucking work.
Well, it totally makes sense. And Ma is not under the impression that she's a psychic, right?
yeah, I don't think that's been
So that's the
explained
thing.
to her.
Only Kay knew. So Ma might have a different perspective, or use her for like a different bargaining chip, or do something with her. But yeah, I mean, that bad judge, she's right. I'm gonna roll up. I'm in the full judge outfit. Even if she's like, I don't believe you, she would most likely hesitate, and that's just not right.
The biggest problem was that Judge Kaplan, I think was her name, she hesitated. She didn't just shoot her right away.
Exactly.
Totally.
She got exactly what she
She
deserved.
was all fucking talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we only got last bad judge left.
Yeah. Well, last bad judge gets a shot in.
Yeah, because he switches his gun to armor-piercing bullets and shoots through some walls, which shoots Judge Dredd, I believe, on the right side.
Yeah.
His back is to the wall, the bullet goes through, and he just doesn't even move. Like, a bullet is gone through the right side of your body, but then he eventually just collapses and slumps down to the ground, and he just keeps telling the guys, like, wait. And I do like this guy. He's like, wait for what? We've heard of you, Judge Dredd.
Because this guy's a fucking dope.
Yeah, you're just some badass, and the last thing you're gonna tell me is wait for what, to spare your life? And then his head explodes because Anderson shoots it off. He's like, no, I was just like waiting for that.
This is the luckiest fucking thing.
Yeah, that is lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe she wrote him a psychic note. If someone pins you down later, just say wait, I'll be there.
It was his plan all along. If he says wait, they're going to wait.
Yeah.
Because he's Judge
Wait it out.
Dredd, damn it.
Show
But,
him some respect.
He gets up and uses his little future first aid kit to dress his wound.
Yeah.
And he's good to go.
I like that.
Right as rain.
Yeah, he's good to go, man.
Yeah, the hacker techie is quickly like, oh my god, like we are in some serious trouble. And then Anderson finds this guy, and she does a psychic read on him and finds out how tortured he was. This is what I noted before, that I agree with Lamar that maybe emotionally she is not the best to make like the judgments, but in many ways I would argue she is, because she just doesn't see one thing. She like does your whole backstory and experiences it. So she gets out of his mind, and the judge is like, yeah, like, you got to shoot him. And she's like, nah, you just get out of here. Don't ever come back. And she basically was like, this is how I will get justice. Like, you can't just shoot people. There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's more to it. And even Judge Dredd is like, all right.
Yeah. Well, she's also like, I know I failed. I lost my service weapon. Like, what does it fucking matter what I do? I'm still on duty, and I'm making a call. So,
yeah, and
suck it.
And she's like, based on all the things I know, this is the best call. And he agrees.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing. One, she just saved his life. Two, she's been mowing down people left and right with him. So I would trust this person every which way, too. Like, you have helped me. You have clearly demonstrated in worst case scenarios you're doing your best, and you're able to like get into someone's mind, which I do think he is kind of acknowledging a little bit.
Yeah.
But now it's time to hunt on Ma.
I actually kind of thought it was more like that he's so black and white. It's her assessment. It's her call. Even if he thinks it's the wrong call, he's going to go with it just because it is her call.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
That black and white.
He respects the process enough.
Yeah.
And they look like they're having fun in these next scenes where they're mowing down their way to get the mama.
Well,
I mean,
before they head
it's
out,
natural.
He's like, you look ready. She's like, I am ready.
And that's a
Ready
callback
to
to
kill.
the scene earlier where he's like, "Are
Ready
you
to
ready,
kill."
rookie?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You don't look ready." And here we are, an hour later into the movie, and she's ready. Damn it!
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that in my notes, like what you said, Mike. Ready to kill. Like, are you ready? Ready to kill? Yeah, yeah, she is.
And they do. And you're all right. It's like total video game-esque. Everyone's getting mowed down. They're going to hunt the final bad guy, the big bad boss. It's Ma.
Yeah, so they make their way up to the 200th floor.
She sinks a bomb to her heart.
Yes, well, I think it was like a dead man's trigger that she put on her wrist, so that if her heart, if she dies, like it'll trigger explosives throughout the building.
Yeah, she basically highlights, I have enough explosives. He's like, so what? Like, everyone's kind of dead. She's like, it will collapse the 70 floors above us. And he's like, or 70 floors up all the way down. He's like, whoops.
Yeah. But yeah, she says this, he acknowledges this, and then he fucking shoots her anyway.
But then throws her.
Yeah, well, he shoots her, gives her a
He
dose of
slow-mos
slow-mo,
her.
and says like, how good is the range on that thing?
Yeah, he's doing math.
Yeah, I'll bet it doesn't reach from the ground floor. She's like, this might suck.
Yeah.
And then he throws her out the window.
Yeah, and then she dies in slow motion. I like that. That was his judgment. Like,
Yeah.
you will reap what you sow. And she dies in slow motion, and we see it. That she's watching people look at her. We're seeing, like, the crystal fly up.
The part where her face hit the ground was
Yeah, that's
disgusting and awesome.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Because it was, you
Like
saw...
a Rorschach painting, you know?
Yeah, because like you were looking, like it's like if the camera was pointing up from a transparent floor. So you see her face just hit like the camera and split open.
Right.
It was dope.
And then, basically she's super dead, and now the rest of the judges are
She's
there.
super dead.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, well, this seems like it sucks. This woman's talking to Judge Dredd, and he's just downplaying it. He's like, yeah, it went wrong. People's dead. She's dead. She was dealing drugs. That's over. Like, he's really
It's
not.
just all matter of fact.
It's
Yeah.
a Wednesday.
And then,
Yeah.
and then Anderson's like, here's my badge. Like, I'm out of here. She walks off, and then this woman's talking to Dredd, and she's like, what do you think about her? And he's like, she's a pass. And, I'm under the impression Anderson quits. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I took this as very backstory Ahsoka for all of you Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars fans, where Ahsoka eventually is accused of a crime, and the Jedis are like, we got to figure this out. And she's like, you should know who I am. And they're like, not really. And then they're like, oh, you're not guilty. She's like, I quit you and the Jedi. That's the walkout Anderson gives me. I'm done with all this. This is too much. This is crazy. But she's under the impression that Judge Dredd is going to give her a failing grade, but he says she'll pass.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, Paul, I'm with you. I was, when she walked off and like the medic tried to give her help because she was shot also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's just like, no, fuck off. And she just kind of pieces out. I too was like, yeah, she's just leaving. She's done with this shit.
But maybe someone's like, congratulations, you got the Dredd approval. And that's
she was
it.
like,
And we get the outro like this is Mega City 1, and the only order is you're gonna find in the chaos is through judges, and that's it. As always, reach out to us. I'll just jump right into it. rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. It's a new year. It's a new you. It's a new voice. Reach out. Let us know what you want to have us review. Do you have any movie suggestions? Do you have cool ideas? Sometimes people reach out to us, and I like hearing from you.
Just let us know your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Let
us
what are you
know.
going to do different this
Right.
year, guys?
Yeah. Tell us. Tell us in explicit detail. Send us 50-page email.
What movies are you going to watch this year? All right.
And we have some.
Stop.
As noted, some of you have written us, and we are going to be looking at some of these new movies and suggestions soon. So there will be movies. Right. But yeah, reach out to us at our Gmail. Again, rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. Go to our website proper, rabbittroopsucks.com. There's pictures. There's links to audio files. There's links to merch. There's all sorts of fun stuff. Hit us up on Instagram or Facebook. That's where we could be found. But yeah, back to Dredd. This movie is killer. If you like action films, as I said, I liken this to Fury Road, the Mad Max. It's very similar. Mad Max, it's like, hi, I'm Mad Max, and people are after me, and there's a little bit of story, but you're like, I kind of know who you are. And then the next hour and a half is like everything is on fire, and it's awesome. And that's this movie for me. Everything's on fire, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Anyone disagree? Does anyone not like this movie here?
No, it's
No, everybody
everyone
likes
likes this movie.
Everybody likes the movie.
Yeah.
It's
We
very.
were a
rare
little
that we get
nitpicky,
that.
but that was nothing.
Yeah, listen,
yeah.
It is dumb that some of the judges are like, oh, okay, like blast shields are up. Like I'm all business, but like some rando on the phone in control of 75,000 people was like, yeah, the shield's up. It's dumb, but you're gonna overlook it. Why? Because this movie is awesome, and people are shooting their heads off and saying witty things, and there's crazy psychic powers, and it's just, if you like action and sci-fi, I do not know why you would not see this film.
Yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, a couple
And it's
nitpicky
short,
plot
like-
points aside. Yeah, it's
yeah.
an hour and a half. It's a quick
Take an
ride.
hour and a half of your life and watch this movie.
This movie's on Netflix.
Yeah, I can't believe that the judges wouldn't have like an override key for the outside of this building.
Yeah,
Just to
so
turn
yeah,
that shit
now
off.
you're back to it, aren't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
There's so many things.
I'm thinking through it, and once they're there, and it's like, oh, it's locked, we better hang out. Yeah, there's got to be like a panel.
It should have just been like they rolled up and they're like, come on in, and then like thugs are like, we took them out and then disguised ourselves as judges or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
that would have that would have actually been better than like the bribed judges.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous thing. But again, I love the idea. It's like, I think I know who Judge Dredd is to an extent. I'm like, okay, now I think he's going to be training someone, but he's training a psychic, but psychics are rare. But now he's locked in a building. Now it's every man for themselves. Like, there's so many checks. So I'm like, this is like every turn. I'm like, this is bananas, and it's so fun. It's so fun.
It is a lot of fun. And if you like this, I know I've talked about it too much tonight. The Raid. Watch The Raid.
Yeah.
You mentioned it once, so we can
Okay.
talk about it some more.
Fantastic movie.
The Raid is so fucking
Yeah,
good,
that-
and it's
I'm glad.
basically this
Crazy
movie, but
fucking
with-
choreographed
Oh my
fight
God.
scenes in
It's-
that movie.
Is there a part 3?
Yeah.
I have not seen
There's a
that.
Raid-
Mike
I
and I
haven't seen 3. I know there's a 2.
Is there? I think there's a 3. I might be talking out of my ass.
Mike
Yeah.
and I, he had already seen them. Mike had told me for years to watch it, and then I watched The Raid 1 and 2 pretty much, I think, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, it might have been.
Because I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, everyone should totally watch The Raid. We should do one on The Raid one day. It's super cool. But yeah, I don't really have much to add. Like, people should totally watch this movie. Jeremy is intrigued by the comic book. I don't blame him. I mean, the story of this is super cool. I would like to know more about the Judge Dredd universe. I think there would be just, a lot of cool things to note. Yeah, he appeared in 2000 AD in 1977. It was a British weekly anthology comic, and he is Judge Joseph Dredd. It was John Wagner was the writer, and I don't know much more about it. I don't know if he's still the writer.
I find it interesting that it's a British comic that's set in the United States.
Maybe it was just published there.
Or maybe it was adapted story,
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
That's how you Dredd.
Either way, I think the future looks pretty Dredd dreadful for all of us.
Well, honestly, to go against what you're saying, Lamar, I remember when Colin noted this movie. I wanted to start this year on an uptick, so I was like, I haven't seen this movie since it came out. What that movie was excellent, and I was excited to watch it, and all throughout I had a lot of fun.
And one thing I wanted to mention that I don't think we talked about. Soundtrack, guys. When that music kicks in these action scenes.
Oh, the soundtrack is great.
It's unlike anything else.
It really is. And for all you AV nerds out there, the surround sound in this movie is mixed so well. It's amazing.
Man, I can only imagine.
Is it swell?
It's pretty swell. It's really swell, you guys.
It's not dreadful.
No. Not
Okay.
at all.
We're gonna flip it up real quick because next week we're coming at you with 1994 and Charlie Sheen and Terminal Velocity, and instead of being locked in a city, you'll be locked in Charlie Sheen's mind and various airplanes as he jumps out of them. It's the only way. It's the only way to get around in 1994. But yeah, this movie's awesome. It's on Netflix. Watch Dredd. I do also want to read more about Dredd. So yeah. Tell us if you know anything about it or like-minded films. Anyone else have any Dredd thoughts?
Dreadful thoughts.
No, man. I love this. I love this movie. I saw this movie by myself in the theater when it came out in 3D because the first day that it came out. It's sad that it was in the only option you had to watch this within the first 3 weeks of release in the theater was 3D. And I think that's one of the reasons why people were turned off by it. They didn't want to see the 3D, so it didn't have the box office.
I totally agree. That was a mistake, but I'll bet it looked great in 3D.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I love 3D. I love 3D movies. I don't have any issue watching them. The only problem I have with 3D movies is when it gets really, really dark.
Oh yeah.
I think this movie did a better. It was set in kind of a dark, dim environment, but it did it well with the lighting and whatnot. So it wasn't bad in 3D. But I love this. I love this movie.
When you saw this movie in the theater, what D was your popcorn in?
No, his D was in the popcorn.
I had my D in the popcorn.
As always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Rabbit Troop sucks.
Yeah.